Okay, sent the invite over to you.
On. Hit refresh. So my brother's computer doesn't have a webcam, but we will join.
Yeah, that's no worries.
We both forgot both our laptops. But everything else.
I'm not a robot.
Okay. All right, and of course I hear my son crying in the background. I told them to try to handle themselves. Do you mind if I step out real quick?
Yeah.
All right, I'll be right back. Sorry about that, guys. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you hear me okay on the Zoom? Let me see if I can.
So we actually have you muted on Zoom.
Okay. I'm gonna yeah, well, do you think it's clear here? Yeah.
It's probably clear on phone call.
Okay.
Like his internet's pretty bad.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's cool. Sweet. No worries. Okay, so well, I guess what would you like to start with before we get going?
So I guess we read through everything over the last couple days.
Okay.
I think my biggest concern right out the gate is the realtor originally told us the roof was like replaced 7 years ago.
Right.
And then according to their report, it sounds like it's 15 to 20 years old, expected to last 20 to 25, and kind of at the end of its life. So that's right out the gate. That's just kind of like my biggest concern.
Okay. And I haven't looked through the permits yet to see. Did you see anything in regards to the roof on there?
No, there was nothing in regards to the roofs on the permit.
Okay.
It just kind of, but you did great about following up about the report of saying that like, hey, there's a lot of stuff on the electrical and the plumbing. However, you told us that was all taken care of.
Right.
It sounds like, well, pretty much all the electrical throughout the house, including the breaker box itself.
Right.
It is not to code.
Right.
So I mean, as long as they say all the plumbing and electrical was taken care of and have proof of that, and our inspector says it's good to go. Then we're good with that.
Right.
The bathroom upstairs, how it didn't have water damage.
But she said it sounded like just that the insurance company took care of it, and then that kind of goes into the permits where it sounded like the permits were never finalized on the bathroom. So hopefully that was all up to code. But I mean, it's definitely something to make sure that those bathrooms are all dialed in and there's nothing wrong with them.
Right.
And make sure it doesn't leak again.
Right.
And then I remember reading through on the questionnaire, there was a question was like, was this house built? And it was like after 1971 or something. And then so it said something about the possibility of lead paint. And she said like, not to her knowledge.
Right. Yeah, and lead-based paint, not to minimize it, but typically, haven't seen issues with that in all of our transactions with the older homes. It is a required disclosure. It was a big deal back then. I believe anything before 1978 is the lead-based paint disclosure. So if the home's built before then, even if it's built after then, we still, for whatever reason, a lot of times we'll use that disclosure form. The way I've heard it explained is unless you had original paint peeling, you could definitely test for it. It's just not a common one that I see tested for because it's typically painted over, through the years. And, just not something, it's the peeling chips of paint that, little kids would eat and have issue, you know what I mean? Like that was the issue.
Okay.
So yeah, but no, good thing to point out. The bigger thing I have, it's a few things, but the biggest thing right now is plumbing, electrical. Based off what he said, his response to me was same thing. Roof was done 7 years ago. Plumbing and electrical, have been updated as time has gone on. I'll see what I can get. And that was his response. So I don't know how much. This inspection report was just a year ago. It doesn't sound like if it were me and I made those types of claims and it didn't match up, to what the claims were, I would be showing that a certain amount of work was done after that inspection report. It doesn't sound like that's probably the case. That's my hunch. So if I had to guess, you're looking at investigating plumbing, electrical. This is just to start with plumbing and electrical. You're probably going to be doing a sewer lateral, and sewer lateral and plumbing are almost two separate. You can do where you can have somebody go in and give estimates. You can have somebody do camera inspections throughout the interior of the house. That's a little more extreme than I've normally seen. But in terms of the type of piping, from the home inspection report said cast iron. I've seen more issues with cast iron than I have with PVC or copper. So, you may want a camera inspection. We had an issue outside of our master. Our toilet started backing up in our master bathroom. We actually started seeing like dirt come up or, something that looked like dirt, rust dirt or something coming up through the toilet and then also in the shower pan. So we're like, okay, what's causing this? And sure enough, it was a cast iron that was outside that was starting to deteriorate. And dirt was actually getting in to where the plumbing was. Luckily, I knew enough not to just go with the first plumber because the first plumber wanted to start just breaking through the slab. And finally, after getting enough mixed opinions, I think I had probably at least 3 people come out and check it out. I realized, I was like, you know what, I don't trust anything any of these guys are saying. And I found a company called American Leak Detection, which I recalled from a previous transaction. They came out. Usually they're only called in if there's some type of leak, like active leak, but they have the equipment to use so that they didn't have to break through the slab and they could see where the piping was. Sure enough, it wasn't under the slab. It went to the exterior. Well, the reason I'm telling you the story is I'm pretty certain that was cast iron that was out there that was breaking down. So that whole thing had to be replaced. It wasn't too crazy. I want to say about $1,200 in total to replace everything, but still a surprise at about a year, 2 years after moving in, that wasn't expecting that type of issue, nothing disclosed about anything to even give me that hint. But if I could have done it over, I probably would have done a camera inspection, knowing, if I would have known it was cast iron, and that could have been the potential. So could get a little bit more expensive. So basically what you have to look at, and this isn't to spook you from wanting to move forward on this transaction, it's just the reality of it. What inspections are you going to have to do to know what you're getting, right? And based off this home inspection report, I'm glad he sent it, because if he didn't send it, we would have to wait still another week or so before we can even get our foot in the door for the general inspection, and then from there try to do the follow-up inspections, but now we know. I mean, if it were me, I'd probably have an electrician go out there. I'd have a plumber go out there, possibly, somebody. I mean, if depending how diligent you want to get, right? There was a water damage from the bathrooms. Some people get a mold inspection. That's going to be at least $300 to $400 for a mold inspection. You do another home inspection on top of that. You're looking at ballpark about $400 for just a general inspection, which could be helpful, especially to have something that's now recent as opposed to a year ago in case they did fix anything. Additional $400, but then you got sewer laterals going to be about $250. If you're doing camera stuff throughout the house, that could add up. And I can't give you an exact number, but let's just guess about $250 for a camera inspection throughout the rest of the house. So as you see, these inspections can start adding up real quick. And that's not even talking about your appraisal. Appraisal, I don't think you should have any issue. If there is, it's another chance to negotiate. Seeing the prelim title, I saw some back taxes that haven't been paid. They have to cover all that. All that's supposed to be, you're supposed to get clean title, and that's the whole point of title insurance, and that's why we want to find that stuff. But what it also tells me is they're already tapping into funds, as well as they're motivated to try to sell their house, so I'm not saying they're gonna make sure that you're getting a brand new house by the end of this in terms of negotiations with repairs and it being ready to go. They did get multiple offers. It is still a pretty hot market with low inventory. So I don't know. I really don't know how much negotiating you can do, but I would assume that there's some negotiation potential before just saying, this is just too much. But it's also hard to start negotiating prior to us doing any actual inspections as well. You know what I mean? Our own inspections. But if it came to the point where it's like, this looks like it is too much, typically I would say let's at least put a request in prior to just canceling, to see how they respond from that and then go from there. So, in the reality of the market, there still isn't anything else available at this time. So you have your earnest money in. Your earnest money is safe, as you're good with everything with that. The only thing is, we still want to respect the timelines. We're still waiting for that signed extension. It's supposedly out for DocuSign. So that's currently where we're at there. But before getting into any more, what are kind of your general feelings about this so far?
Like I said, I'm just kind of really concerned, I guess, about the roof. So
Okay.
what options would we have with that? Is it worth trying to counter and ask for a price reduction on whatever the cost would be to replace the roof, just because they did tell us that 7 years, or what kind of a claim would we have with that roof?
Yeah, everything's negotiable. So it's if we find out that roof is towards the end of its life, and I, to be honest, I need to relook through, because I looked through the disclosures, but I didn't catch the 15 to 20. So I need to look at that document again. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, that was page.
Yeah, I know where it talks about the roof. I'm just trying to find the actual disclosure paperwork. I have a few of the different emails open right now. So let me see if I can pull that one up. It says Jose Disclosures.
Also, what is the first day that we can get an inspector in?
Yeah, that's what we're still waiting for, that date.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know it's going to be after the 4th. Let's see. Okay. So it says roof buyer to confirm, age unknown. Okay, which page were you referring to there?
So on the National Property Inspection page.
Oh, on the actual
6.
inspection report.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the top it says
Roofing, that says age 15 to 20. It says design life 20 to 25. And then the comments in red, it says leaks not always detectable. And then it says the roof appears serviceable at the time of the inspection, though reaching its design life.
Right. Okay. I'm just pulling that one up. I got like 3-4 different emails open, so I'm just trying to find the one with the home inspection that I just sent. I got your permit one now. And ETA roof was 7 years ago. It's the same thing he said. There it is. It's off the response. Cool. All right. Can you say the page again? Sorry. What was that? 6. Okay. All right. So age 15 to 20 years, design life 20 to 25, layers 1, visible 100%. Okay. The roof appears serviceable at the time of the inspection. They'll reach its design life. So it's off the general home inspection report. I've seen this happen before in the past where they assumed it was older than it was, and they didn't know exactly. This is just what he's guessing. On a general home inspection, sometimes they'll get up on the roof and actually check it out. Other times they say it's outside our scope. So the bigger thing to do, one, is if the roof was done 7 years ago, send us what paperwork you have, right? What, you know, what, who did you use, any invoices, estimates, whatever, send us the paperwork. So we'll ask for that. And we'll ask them why it says 15 to 20 years on the inspection report versus that. Second thing you can do is you have your own roof inspection. Again, it's another cost. If you're doing an actual report, it's $250 with the preferred company that I have. That gives pretty reasonable estimates. And my guess for this size house, it's going to be under 10. It would be, if it was just putting another layer, because it says 1 layer of roof, if you just put another layer on top, could be around 6 to 7K. If it's where they're doing the tear off and replacing that, that could be an additional, you know, put it at about $8,500 to $9,000. This is the last house I had quoted in Oxnard, roughly about the same size, with the same company. So that is an option. I'm not saying we have to do that right out the gate, but it's just another cost you want to be ready for, you know, depending on what we get. So right now, because we do have a little bit of time, I'm going to impress this guy to see what info he's going to get us, right? And not everybody is good about keeping all their paperwork and all of that. So just because they don't have it doesn't mean it's not what they say it is. He responded again with the 7 years on the roof. I'm pretty sure, I'm hopeful that they're pretty certain of when that was done. But I've also heard, oh yeah, it was done 5 years ago, and then when we actually get the paperwork, it's 10 years ago. You know, I've seen that happen.
My parents,
yeah. Right. And it's not necessarily that people are trying to be misleading. They really just don't remember, you know what I mean? They think it was only a few years ago and it was actually a little bit further back. So that could be the case. I saw them point out the attic stains, and then they also acknowledged that it was probably corrected when the roof was replaced. So that's also interesting too, because then that's the home inspector acknowledging that the roof was replaced. So, you know, there's about, you know, a potential 8-year difference from the 7 to 15 years here. So we'll see what we get with that. Trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, that's just kind of my initial. And just so you know, I reached out to the agent for Munson just to see what other information he can give us. You know, it's, I mean, I can't act like I'm shocked. I know what he shared with us when we went there, but walking through the property, this inspection report is more in line with what I would expect, seeing the home just visually and being in a lot of different properties versus the property that we passed on, you know, the one that was on Roland with Terry Ayers. I think that house was a cleaner property. I know it's gone. I know the size was different. I know there's certain things that appealed about this property, but I also just kind of got that sense. I felt like that was a better quality property in terms of it being finished and things being done. The Munson property, I don't know exactly. Munson, I think, is going to be in a little better condition, and being that guy's a home inspector, you would think he would know a little bit more in terms of what to look for and what to kind of upkeep. Doesn't mean it's a perfect house, but I don't, I can't say that we're going to have other options other than this property right now, but is it something, I mean, basically say everything, let's just talk about worst case scenario. Everything, say the roof really is 15 years old. Say the plumbing and electrical is in the condition that this inspection report is showing, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
there's going to be things that need to be done. We haven't even done termite yet. And so realistically, if I were just telling you right now what I think we could possibly on the high side negotiate, let's say termites 2,500 to 3,000. We'll just put 3,000 on the high side. Then you're looking at maybe getting to, I don't know if we would get that much towards a roof. I mean, in a multiple offer situation, I haven't seen much giving towards a roof. But in situations where it was just us, I knew we had the other side really leveraged. I was able to get at least half a credit or pretty close to half a credit. So let's just say close to $5,000. And if they say there's no current leaks, we're not going to do anything with it. That maybe on the high side is somewhere between 7, on the highest 10K. And 10K would be almost phenomenal if you got that. And they would have to be very concerned that they couldn't close this with anybody else. We already know they had 3 offers in a pretty short period of time, and one other not too far from ours. So with that all being said, I think a more realistic expectation would be somewhere between 3 to 5K. I think that's probably where you would end up at on the best case 10K. So you just would have to look into, would it be worth it? And if it's not, do we really want to get $1,500 to $2,000 deep in terms of inspections? And even after you start doing all that, you may still find out that they may not give you a credit for 3 to 5K. You know what I mean? So that's your cost of doing business that is gone if this doesn't work out for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So just want to share it all with you. Again, not to spook you, just to kind of give you the real talk. And then if I hear anything different with Munson, I'll let you know. I'm going to see if that guy, one of the benefits to being the second one in line is sometimes they'll do the inspection report, send that over to us, kind of give us a big feel, just like this one, beforehand, before kind of getting the hopes up. But I know the bigger square footage is appealing. I just also know that I'm seeing just more red flags that you're likely going to have to overcome. Maybe not as much with Munson, but I definitely think with this Jose property, you're going to just have things that it's just like, okay, is it really, we don't want to get ourselves in deeper in terms of cost and extra costs that we weren't anticipating, paying $685,000 for a property. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and especially it's one thing if the roof is new, like they said, 7 years, because then it's just rolled into the mortgage. But to have that upfront cost of all of a sudden, maybe in a year or two, having to replace that roof, that's just money we weren't expecting to have to spend.
Right. And I wouldn't anticipate, even, again, worst case scenario, it's the 15 to 20, and they say design life is 20 to 25. We just had this on a Ventura property, and it was similar to it. And my home inspector, guy's on point. And the roofer the first roofer I sent out there, which I don't use him anymore because I swear every time lately I've sent him out, it's like, oh, you need a new roof. You need a new roof. It's like automatic. Oh, see, it's missing flashings. The roof needs to be replaced. Will you certify it and do a tune-up? No, can't do that. And a lot of roofers are more leaning that route these days because of the heavy rains we've had over the last 2-3 years. And they don't want to be on the hook for certifying anything. So I found somebody who is a licensed contractor who's solid and has good estimates, and they're willing to do tune-ups. But he's even hesitant on certifying at times. You know what I mean? And say, hey, I'll tune it up, $1,500 or $2,000. These are all the things we'll fix. You should be in good shape, but I can't certify it, you know what I mean, for a certain period of time. So I trust them. They've helped us out really a lot this year, and they were actually referred to me by my parents. At first, I wasn't too sure because I thought the $250 inspection fee was a little steep, but in reality, in terms of their quotes and their estimates, they blow everybody else away. Where other people are quoting 14 to 20K on a roof, they're getting it done for like 9,000 and completely redone. You know what I mean? So they. What was that, Danielle? Sorry.
Just the website did rain just recently, so
right.
Getting that inspector and come up here, it'll show something really big.
True. Yeah, no, that's a good point with the recent rain. And I believe there's a chance for more rain, before we actually can get in and do the inspection. So what I'm going to do in the interim is I'm going to keep asking questions. I'm going to ask in regards to the roof. I've already asked for sewer lateral because it sounded like, oh yeah, sewer, electrical, everything was good. Inspection report's pretty clean. I couldn't say that this is a clean inspection report. I can't say it's a horrible report, but it's definitely not something, it doesn't show me that everything was corrected, right? In terms of electrical, plumbing, all those things. So if Munson comes back and says, hey, these other buyers aren't working out, they're asking for too much now, whatever the case is, if that is of the, does become a possibility, is Munson still on your radar for the two of you?
I think it is for me. Gino's nodding her head.
I think so, yeah.
Like you said, we do, I really do like the setup of Jose, but like you said, if they come back worst case and say, hey, that electrical and plumbing hasn't been touched, or
right,
we had some guy say he fixed it but nothing was certified or whatever,
right,
the Munson one would be more appealing, just because we did walk through it. It was a lot nicer. It was definitely moving ready, minus an inspection that doesn't come back anything crazy.
Right. Yeah, and it's go ahead. Did you say a gas hookup in the kitchen? Okay. Yeah, I can ask for that.
And it's probably just a technicality or a typo, but on her disclosure report, she did not check that there's washer and dryer hookups, which we saw that there were washer and dryers in there.
Right.
So it would, unless maybe they're just electric washer and dryers, but
no,
just to get some more clarification on what exactly those two are, and then bug them again about that mystery unit.
Right. Yeah. No, it's in some of it, and this is just again kind of just sharing with you what I've seen from previous transactions. Sometimes when we hit them with a bunch of questions like this, because there's a few different types of questions we're asking. A lot of it is in terms of condition, which could bank in terms of whether we move forward, whether we negotiate some serious credits. It's got a lot of weight on it. So with that being said, yes, we have our earnest money deposit in, which is some serious commitment on our part. But at the same time, they want us to have some skin in the game in the sense of inspections and appraisals that have been paid for. And since we're not doing anything on their request, until after New Year's, they're going to be hesitant in responding. Now, when they do respond, we still have an additional 5 days after that response. So even where they miss boxes and miss things on disclosures, typically I don't bring that to the other side's attention. We already know there's a washer dryer hookup there. We already know. So it doesn't prove anything by us pointing out something that they missed, other than it does give us an out if we need that out. And we get to that point and say, hey, actually, there's nothing checked on the washer dryer. We're pretty certain we've seen it. Can you correct that? When they correct it, we get an additional 5 days after that. So strategically on our part, I don't show them everything.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, and it's to protect your earnest money if we need it, towards the end. More of my bigger concerns are like we talked about with the roof, plumbing and electrical, whatever they have, any insurance paperwork they have, send that over to us, right? And looking through the disclosures, a lot of it's buyer to investigate. It's like, well, we can't even get in right now, so all I would recommend right now is, we ask certain questions, try to see what info we can get before we start spending money on inspections, kind of line up and look through these reports and see what's most important that we definitely know we want to inspect. and prioritize that, and then try to have those set up. I love the fact that you got a buddy that was able to pull all this stuff with the permits, and I'm going to take some time and look through all that and see if that draws any red flags to me or any positives, right? And then once we have all that, just kind of get a good feel of, okay, what's the best approach with this? And at the end of the day, see, does this all make sense? And even if it doesn't, I'd rather find this out as soon as possible so that we don't, waste any of their time as well as your own time and money. And you can just get out and protect your money and do what you need to do. With it being said, as you've seen how competitive this market is, you're still in the driver's seat of this one. And before you pull out, I would almost always recommend making sure we got another solid backup plan before doing that. Just because of the competitiveness of the market, not seeing that ease up anytime soon, with the competitive rates, so so just want to share that with you. Doesn't mean it's not a thing, but what is nice is I do have months in reaching out to me. Doesn't mean a whole lot, but at least reaching out, showing me some signs that you may have some options here. And if you do, and they send us an inspection report and it's cleaner than what we're looking at right now, it may make more sense on a whole lot. I mean, they were at 680, so we already know it's a little bit less than the 685 you're in right now. So they're at a 680 purchase price and extremely motivated to get it done, being that they're purchasing a property in Arizona, I believe. They're already in that motion. So yeah, could create some opportunity for you there.
And then I think my last question is, just like you said, we're kind of on a holding pattern and don't want to waste time if we don't have to. What paperwork should we start signing now to get ready for appraisals, or is it not even worth clicking through and signing everything till we at least get reporting on the electrical and plumbing?
No, good question with that. Again, my hunch tells me that last report is as recent as it's going to be in terms of the condition of that home. That's my hunch. So I don't think you're going to see anything better than what you've already seen there. It's going to be for us to investigate the plumbing and the electrical. That's my hunch. Now, if they send me some stuff that they redid everything, I'd be pretty shocked at this point. Just because I was expecting to see that in the inspection report. Being that I don't see it there, and it was less than 2 years ago, they had the tenants there. I think they said 3 years ago, ballpark. It would have been done prior to them moving in, I believe, is how he explained it. When we were there on the porch. So, with that all being said, being that this is more recent than I think the tenants getting in there, or he did this right before the tenants went in. So they could have did this and then corrected a bunch of stuff. If they corrected all that and he sends that to us, I'll send it to you. And that's definitely a much better situation. But,
and everything. And so I remember seeing pictures and remember walking into the house that it was fixed.
It was fixed.
So
good. Well,
gives me a little bit of hope that maybe they did do a little bit of update.
Right.
Since that report.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. I'm just like I said, when I saw this report, I was like, wait a minute, this is not the clean report I was anticipating. Before we start jumping into this thing full bore. So, again, I don't think it's worth overreacting in any way in terms of being like, oh, no, this is horrible. We need to get out of this before, there's nothing, sky's not falling. You're not going to be stuck in any type of bad situation. We're waiting on their account, right now.
So then just go ahead and hold off signing stuff until we decide to send in those inspectors?
So in answering that question, in terms of the escrow paperwork, I would get that ball rolling. So normally they send you the hard copies though. They emailed everything over. As long as it's not too much trouble in terms of print, if you guys have access to printing and signing and filling it out, but typically they send you an overnight package that you drop it in and send it over, or you can have it titled over. So you guys are, when do you come back again?
We come back on Sunday.
Sunday, okay. And that's, what date is that? Is that January?
I think that's
3rd
I
or
think it might be
4th? Let me check.
That's the 2nd.
The
We're
2nd?
back on the 2nd.
Okay. You said on Sunday?
Yeah, Sunday the 2nd.
Okay.
Sorry,
Is it
that's
the
right.
3rd?
I lied.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah, so
That's why I was like, wait a minute, you're looking at the wrong.
all right, so the 3rd, you guys will be back on the 3rd. So, yeah, I mean, it's not critical that you have everything signed, filled out, but I would definitely start looking at it. If you have questions, I would call the escrow officer, have them kind of walk you through it. It's almost the exact same paperwork, no matter where, whichever property you move forward in. So I would at least get those questions answered, because it's a little confusing as you go through it. I know you guys talked about the trust as well. Have you gotten any more progress on that with whether you're going to do the?
He basically told us to just go ahead and put it in both of our names for now.
Okay.
It'd be cheaper to do that.
Okay.
Just a will.
Uh-huh.
And then to down the road consider a trust. Yeah, because we had a question about the title, so that would be a question for the escrow company then on how to title it.
You can talk to the escrow officer. There's even a title officer who you can speak to, but there is a sheet that breaks down the different ways of holding it. And the only thing different from the last time we spoke is when they refer to community property, which makes sense because community property is in reference to typically spouses, right? Married couples. So I don't believe that would work for the two of you just because of that. So you may have to go a different route, but it does break down all the different categories. What I'm supposed to tell you as the real estate agent is, seek legal advice before you do that. You're already talking to somebody about a trust, so you may be able. Is the person who's doing the trust an attorney?
It is a CPA, I think, and
Okay.
we don't know for sure if we were even going to do the trust.
Okay.
Because what was confusing is they have the concurrent co-ownership interest breakdown in escrow paperwork,
right?
But all the options are either like husband and wife,
right?
Wife and wife, husband, and then all of them are domestic partners.
Right.
It only says please indicate one.
Right.
And underneath it says if two or more are taking the title together, check as joint tenants. So do you think I would mark it as like single male and then down at the bottom put joint tenants?
I believe so, but yeah, that's where I would talk to the escrow officer, just to double check with that and make sure that everything's handled appropriately with it. For that reason, most importantly, because you never know, you may be able to, but typically when they're referring to a community property or a separate property state, it's in regards to either married or domestic partnership type situation. So yeah, I would ask for clarification of that. If you're not getting the answers that you want from the escrow officer, let me know. And I have, I got a couple contacts, one definitely on the title side. And, I can get you in touch with the title officer. There's a title officer that's assigned with our file, but there's other people that I know as well that can break it down for you.
Okay.
And then what other paperwork needs to be signed before the inspectors, other than like the escrow paperwork?
It's just the escrow to get started with right now. Other than that, there'll be little things if we have them through disclosures. So Yvette will send it all to you by e-signature. And just so you know, when you sign everything off on disclosures, it doesn't mean you're accepting it or that they're telling you the truth and you agree with it. All you're doing is acknowledging that you received it and you read it. That's all the initials are as you go through it. Our opportunity to correct things or to investigate and do all that, we still have a request for repairs. That's the big one. Based on what the request for repairs says and the response to the request for repairs, that's what will dictate, okay, this is being fixed or this isn't being fixed. You know what I mean? So just so you know, because believe me, I talk to attorneys, I talk to all different types of buyers, and they're all like, well, I'm not signing that. I'm not doing it because I know that's inaccurate. And it's like, look, that's on them as sellers disclosing, right? They have a duty to disclose. They miss something or screw up something, that's on them. For us, this is what we do, you know what I mean, in terms of our investigation. So yeah, no, but thank you also, Danielle, for bringing up that point, because I thought some of those, like the holes in the walls and things that you can tell on the exterior, I didn't recall seeing that. So I am also hopeful that they did correct certain things. And I've go ahead.
We would look back at the pictures and we were like zooming in on a picture
Right.
Pictures they posted.
Right.
But it looked like there was still water damage in the first bathroom next to the
Like a
tub.
little bit of like
So
tile.
that might not have been fixed necessarily all that way, or maybe they just tried to cover it up themselves with some caulking and now since it's deteriorated.
Could have. And see, in terms of the insurance being involved, that's usually a good sign. So normally when insurance is involved, I feel
Yeah.
better of it being handled quicker. And, you know, if it were me and I'm purchasing, I don't know if I necessarily would, you know, spend extra in terms of doing mold inspection. I'm not saying to not do it or to do it. I just would feel better knowing because I know when we even tried to go through an insurance claim here. I'm trying to think of we had a couple leaks. So we had the one I told you about the toilet. Then there were a couple that were over because our plumbing, because of the slab, we had to. It's like goes into the attic above. So we started seeing dripping from our ceiling. It's like, oh great, what's that coming from? You know, thinking it could be a possible roof leak or something, but it was actually the plumbing that was above it. It's copper plumbing. So the first time, I know we reached out to insurance, like both times it was so close to what the deductible was. Deductible is like $1,000 and the quote was like 980 or 920 or something like that. So we had to pay the first 1,000 anyways. So it's like, well, we might as well just pay for it because you don't want it to show up as an insurance claim and you know you're not even getting any benefit from it or you're only getting an extra $200 or something like that. But the first time we had to have like the big huge fan companies come in and dry everything out up there, which just makes me feel better after seeing the actual process of what's all involved to know how it gets handled and all dried up. And it's pretty intense, you know what I mean? Where I know if that's done, you know, that you're in pretty good shape. Now, if it wasn't done or we don't have any paperwork, it may be worth doing a mold inspection, having them test those areas just to make sure there's no issue there, you know? No problem. It's still, you're kind of faint there. It's kind of hard to hear you, Danielle. Sounded like you said thank you.
Yeah, I was just saying thank you for being so thorough and
No problem. Yeah, it's you know, we've already got a lot of information. That's to be honest, that's really good. You normally don't get this much up front. So, you know, you got a lot before even stepping foot into the house. I'm sure more questions are going to come up. I wouldn't lose any sleep over any of this yet until we do our actual investigation. But you at least have kind of a starting point. And then I actually just saw the email go through from Ron. He just said, I'll keep you posted. So, you know, so we'll see what happens on that end. And if he's concerned enough with his current buyers, at least he knows that we're qualified, still interested. And that's all I shared with him. I didn't tell him we love the house and it's our top pick.
Yeah.
All I said was, you know, just if you have any reports, send it over. I'll pass it along and, you know, we'll see kind of how everything works out. So, so yeah, we'll kind of keep our eyes on that. And then not that we need to get there yet. You know, I'm not trying to have too many options out there, but with that Roland property, was it just too small or just not of interest at all? I mean, I told Terry it was you know, unfortunately we weren't interested in the property at that time. Was that still something of potential or is it, what are your thoughts with it?
19, right?
What was that?
That's the one over by Fitness 19, correct?
It's over by Mobile. So yeah,
Okay,
I
it's
think
over by okay.
yep, I think it is by Fitness 19.
I think it would have to be a pretty low price for us to be interested in that one because of the square footage, maybe.
Okay.
What is your thought, Andrew?
Yeah, because that one was up for what 629, if I remember.
Yeah, that's what they were asking. It did go into escrow pretty quick, but she did give me a little bit more info. You know, as it got closer to it, when I told her that we weren't moving forward with it, she said she had at the time one over ask, but she didn't say how much higher than ask, and then one right around asking price. So my guess is they probably got right around maybe 640. You know, 630, 640. So I don't think it's going to be as high as where we're at or what we were even considering on that property. But if I just had to guess, she didn't tell me a number, I would say 640.
Yes, I mean, if we could snag that for 640, like 645, I think that would be very interesting, especially because the conditions seem to be a lot better
Right.
in that home from just what we walked around with. The roof looked good to us at first glance. Inside,
Right.
That was the
no
raised
electrical.
foundation.
Yep.
Yeah.
The kitchen stuff was kind of updated.
Yeah. No, it still needed some improving, you know, some modernizing, but all in all, quality wise, it looked pretty solid, you know. I mean, it looked pretty clean. That was one of the cleanest properties that I've seen, just you know, that we've looked at, and just that I've seen in a long time under 700,000. You know, it was in pretty good shape. Not all brand new dialed in like the one we saw across the street that had 12 plus offers in 2 days. Not that, you know, type of clean, but in terms of, you know, just a clean slate, really, they just kind of did all the basics. But I mean, scrape ceilings, it was still in really good shape, you know. So I can stay in touch with her too and check. I just
Yeah, for
don't
sure.
like doing it if it's not like, if this Jose property is on a whole nother level than everything else. But we'll get some answers. You know, I'll check on the roof. I've already hit him with a couple, so I want to see how he responds to that first before I hit him, you know, with the roof and these other ones. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, but my guess with the roof, they either misremembered, or maybe it was 7 years ago. And again, this inspector, when he puts 15 to 20, he's just guessing. He's guessing, and they're going to CYA. You know, they're going to try to, if they're always going to be more conservative in terms of what they put out there, so that you can come back and say, hey, it was only, you put 5 to 10 years and it was actually 12 years. You know what I mean? So we're coming after you as the home inspector for, you know, just giving us wrong information. We wouldn't have bought the house if we would have known it was, you know, that range. So there's a good chance that's the case, is what I'm saying, you know. So yeah, so we'll see kind of how it all comes together, and hopefully, optimistically, it's in pretty clean shape. But I also want us to be prepared that if this inspection report is current, you know what I mean, that's the state that we're looking at right now, you know.
Yeah, totally understand that.
Awesome. All right. Well, unless you guys have any other questions, just, you know, anything else you got at this time?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I guess we're just
Anything.
waiting on what they come back with to kind of give us a better picture.
Cool. That sounds good. Well, if anything else comes up, you know, don't hesitate. Just reach out.
Okay.
And yeah, well, you guys enjoy your trip out there. Hopefully, you guys are having a good time.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll be in touch soon.
Awesome.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
No
Thanks so much,
problem.
Brandon.
All right. Take care, guys. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.